Start.
Namaste everyone. Welcome to Osho Australia Meditation Retreat interview session. Today we have our very lovely Shahido Ma for the interview session. An Australian lady sannyasin since last 40 years. I should say, since 1980, she has been providing her immense and valuable work of the Master Osho by providing his books, meditation technique programs, audio and video discourses, and not only that, she has been also conducting regular meditation programs in the area called Byron Bay in Australia. The service that she is giving to the humanity, especially for the people in Australia, and that is through meditations and spreading the words of the Mystic Master, is immensely valuable. And in today's global era, we really need such magnifying people who can really do this. This is like a biggest justice you can get towards your master. I could say that we, Osho Australia Meditation Retreat group, is highly thankful and privileged to have Ma Shahido on board, sharing her valuable and mesmerizing experiences that she had with her master Osho. So please, let's welcome with full of love and gratitude, Ma Shahido. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Shahido. What to say? I read a book of Osho's over 40 years ago, and it was enough to call me to go to Pune. And that I did. At the time, I didn't have any money, but I got a job. I didn't have a passport, but I got a passport. I had to ask my ex-partner to look after the kids so I could go, and he very lovingly did. And it's one of those mysteries that's happened to me in my life, that I just read this one book. That's the only book I had, and it was enough to call me to go and see him. And here I am today, 40 years later, very grateful that I read that book. Very grateful to those sannyasins who gave me that book. It was called Only One Sky. It's now called Tantra, the Supreme Understanding.
Shahido Ma, can you please explain us the journey with Osho, from how it started and where you stand today, and why you choose Osho as the master?
Good question. Well, as I've already mentioned, a sannyasin in Sydney gave me this book, and I read it, and it was so strong. This really gave me a great interest in Osho's books, because then I discovered that you can get the transmission or get the message from Osho just by reading one book. So I read that book. I went out and got a job, got some money together, and went to Pune. It's hard, and that's over 40 years ago now. It's hard to express it really, how it all happened. It's the mystery of, actually, I didn't choose Osho. I read his book, but I feel like he called me. He called me, and I can't even explain that I felt the call to go to India. And basically I had no upbringing. I'd been brought up as a Christian for 28 years, so I had no upbringing. I didn't even know that the people in other countries had the same vision, had the vision of God that we had. So I had no background in Indian masters, but somehow I must have been ready. So I really feel that it was him. I was ready. And in a way I had been prepared a little bit, because I had been going to a school of philosophy in Sydney, where I was exposed to teachings other than Christianity. So I had a little bit of background from reading books and listening to lessons on other religions. And so I managed to get myself together and go to Pune. My ex-husband, he took 2 of the kids and I took 1 with me. And we arrived in Pune with absolutely no idea of what it's like to go to a foreign country. But we managed. It's amazing how existence, how life supports you when you get the call to go. It's kind of a bit beyond explaining, really.
So,
Could you please tell us the role of meditation in your life?
The role today is very different to when I went to Pune so many years ago. I mean, I didn't really have any concept about meditation. I had been initiated into meditation by the master in the school that I went to, School of Philosophy that I went to, but it was with a mantra meditation, and I had a great experience with that. So I'm grateful that in a way that man who gave me that mantra meditation, he actually prepared me for Osho, but I had no idea what was happening to me. So I practiced that mantra meditation for 5 years, and I came to a point of still feeling miserable, and I felt there's just got to be something else, and that's when I read Osho and decided to go and see him, and he initiated me into sannyas. So that's where I began. I spent 2 months just doing meditations and listening to him in Pune. Came back to Australia, realised that I can't do this in 2 months. This is a lifelong commitment. So I got myself organised and went back to Pune and started working in the ashram and just attending meditations when I could, listening to him when I could. So it's a long journey. The meditation is a long journey. When I came back to Australia, and he had said to me, help my people there, I realised the best way to help his people here was to call a few people to my house and do a meditation together. So we did that. I called a few people together and started the process of meditation, which active meditations, I didn't really know much about just sitting in silence. Like he says, us Westerners are not very good at sitting in silence, so I just did the Kundalini meditation for a long time. And then gradually I realised, of course, from listening to him, reading books, that you can turn everything into a meditation, which was the best thing that I ever heard. That no matter what you're doing, be present and do it with as much love and awareness as you can. And that's a good way of meditating. So I've practiced that now for quite a few years, as well as offering meditations to other people. So I always join in with that. But basically now I've learnt to turn everything that I do to do it with as much love and awareness as I can. And I sit silently now. I'm able to sit silently after all this time. It takes a long time to learn to sit silently, but I can do it now. So I still get a lot of energy. On Saturday night we do a evening meditation, Osho evening meditation. Then Sunday morning I do another meditation with a group of friends, and by Monday I feel so energized by those 2 meditations back to back that I realize the incredible energy that's within us that we've hardly even tapped yet. But I do tap it just for a short time. Monday I'm always full of energy, looking for things to do. How can I use this energy, or what can I do with it? So I have discovered the power of energy, of meditation, but I haven't explored it totally yet.
Could you please tell us about the impacts and challenges in your spiritual journey and where you stand today?
Wow, what a big question. Well, having 3 children and wanting to pursue a spiritual path, it was quite a challenge because I was separated from my husband. I had to keep working in my job. Luckily, I was a registered nurse, so I could get jobs. I wanted to go and see Osho as often as I could, so I used to go to India and to the ranch every year so I could keep contact with him, and then come back and resume my job. And it was a challenge to bring up my 3 kids. I took them. They all came to Pune with me in the end, and they've all been to the ranch when Osho was on the ranch. They've been to the ranch with me, but I still had to keep my job, and I was very lucky that I had a background in nursing, so I could. It was in those days. It was pretty easy to get a job. Sometimes I had to leave my job in order to go to Pune, and then had to come back and find a new job. But in those days it was easier than it is today. So it was, but nevertheless it was a challenge, and the other challenge was accommodation too. It's like many times I just lived together with groups of sannyasins in a house, and that was a great comfort for my kids and myself, that we had the support of other people who were on the spiritual journey. I guess in those days I just faced every challenge. Sometimes I feel amazed myself, looking back now at the challenges that I faced to keep my spiritual life happening and to keep bringing up my kids. I must say, I think that being with Osho and just doing his meditations, reading his books, associating with his people, I got the energy to do it. That's all. The only way I can explain it is that there was that never-ending source of energy that's available that we don't actually tap into until we're faced into the position. So I must have tapped into that never-ending source of energy, and sometimes I'd lose it and I'd feel a bit disappointed, downhearted, but somehow I always managed to get back to myself and get back to that energy within myself. So the early days of sannyas, when I came back from Pune, I realised that I couldn't live up in the country. I had to live in the city because my children were then getting into their teenage years and needed to get jobs. So I went back to Sydney, got a job, got a house, lived together with other sannyasins, and it wasn't hard because we were all supporting each other and loving each other, and we were all working out in the world, but we'd all come together at the centre for meditations, and so there was a great sort of feeling of community with all the people that had been to Pune, coming back and living together, helping each other. So I really got the feeling, although we weren't all living in the same house, we were all meeting together, and so I got the feeling of what it's like really to live in a sannyas community and still have my independence of going out to work and bringing up my family.
How your master changed your life?
Oh, wow. Well, it's really obvious. I mean, I lived a totally different life. I started having new friends. I started travelling. I used to go to Pune as often as I could. I never went anywhere else in India. I only ever went to Pune to spend at least a month there every year. So if I'd just been a normal housewife, like married and had my kids and lived in the same suburb for 20 years, I wouldn't have had the life that I've had now. I've had this life of travelling, going to see him, meeting new friends, learning an absolutely different way of life to what I had been brought up with. So changed my life. Even my family that I come from, they recognise that I'm a different person to what I was when I was growing up. Just thinking about the question how he changed my life, well, he actually gave me a new way of living. Like the active meditations was such a blessing, because I realised that I just couldn't sit and do meditations every day because I had a family, I had to go to work. There had to be another way of learning meditation, and that's what happened. I learnt this new way from him. So I know now that I can just, if I get a bit lost, I can just sit, listen to him for even 5 minutes, and I'm back to myself. So yeah, he's changed my life completely.
Could you please tell us about your experiences of Pune 1 and the time when Osho went to Oregon?
Well, as I've mentioned before, I went to Pune in 1978 for 2 months, realised that I can't do sannyas in 2 months. I came back to Australia and got organised and went back to Pune within 3 months with 2 of my kids, and one stayed with her dad. And so that when I went back that time, I was there for about 18 months. I worked in a medical centre. My kids went to the school. There was Osho had set up a school called the No School. My kids went to school. And so basically I worked 7 days a week looking after people that got sick when they came to Pune. When the Westerners weren't really set up to deal with the different situations in Pune 1. So we did have quite a lot of people getting sick. So we had medical centres, and I worked for 18 months as a nurse in a medical centre. I came back to Australia, as I've mentioned before, because my son really needed to go to school, and because he was getting a bit wild in living in Pune. So I came back. He went to school. My kids went to school. My 2 young ones went to school. My older girl, she was already had chosen to stay in school. And then I just went to visit Osho every year. I happened to be there when he was leaving. The day he left to go to Oregon, I was there. And I was invited to go, but I felt the responsibility of having 3 children, and I didn't really think that I could do that, could go and live on the ranch. So I came back to Australia, but I became very involved still in Osho's work. I kept meditations going in my house. I went to Oregon 4 times. I went to Oregon. My children came with me. I was there the day that he left to go to Oregon, and we all felt, we didn't know what was happening, that he was leaving. We didn't really know what was happening, but we all felt, well, I felt maybe I'm never going to see him again, because I could not imagine how I'm a single parent with 3 children, how am I ever going to get to see him again in America? That seemed impossible. But I came back to Australia, and we joined together a group of sannyasins up the Gold Coast. We all went to work. Oh, I managed the community. Everyone went to work. We ended up taking 50 people to see Osho for the first World Celebration. I was part of that. And then from then on, I just kept on going with my job, making money, and kept on going to Oregon to see him. So I was very lucky in a way that I was able to make money and take myself and the kids to see him for the 4 or 5 years that he was in Oregon. I actually can say I never lost contact, even the physical contact. And it amazes me now when I think about it, that I was still able to maintain that contact with him, even though I thought that I would never see him again. So it just shows you how the mind can give you the wrong information, because it is possible to do anything if you set your goals. You said, yes, I'm going to go to America. So I did go to America 4 times. And so it still amazes me that I managed to get myself to the ranch, to America 4 times, and all my kids have been to the ranch. They've been all 2 times. So I've really found out that once you start saying yes to a master who then connects you up with existence, and things just start happening. Jobs come your way, houses come your way, money comes your way. Things just happen if you're intent. And I have to say that a lot of the time I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just run with this energy of doing it. But I actually can't say that I knew what I was doing all the time, that I was fully conscious. I wasn't fully conscious at all. But luckily, it's not dependent on being fully conscious. It's about saying yes to the Master.
Stop.
Shahido Ma, can you please describe about any incidents that happened during your stay in Pune 1 or Pune 2?
Well, for a Western woman living in Pune with children, yes, incidents happen all the time. Especially what happened with me is that I took my son to Pune when he was 8 years old, and he soon got in with all the ashram kids, and they were little devils. They were into it, all kinds of, because they had so much freedom. They used to get up to all sorts of tricks. And so one incident I had with him, which was quite a major incident, and I ended up making the decision to come back to Australia. He and some of his friends stole money from the medical centre, and Sheila banned him then from the ashram for 3 months and took his mala off him. So that was really hard for me, because I had this little rebellious kid that I needed to keep an eye on, but I was also wanting to work in the medical centre. So I then decided, I thought I'd better take him back to Australia. And Garima said to me, just take him back to Australia and give him to his father, and you come back and come to the ranch with us, with Zahira. And I just felt the responsibility of having a 9-year-old boy that I had given birth to. I felt that responsibility. So I did come back to Australia with him. The most amazing thing of that situation was that Lakshmi intervened and gave him back his power so that I could keep on working in the medical centre. That was such a blessing that she did override Sheila at that time, and I was able to continue to work. And then I decided it's best that I take him back to Australia. but I could not desert him. I felt this responsibility to look after him. So that was one incident where it was quite a big incident, and I got the strength to deal with it. And that's like when you're with a master and you're constantly coming back to yourself and your own resources, which is what Osho does. It's not about him, it's about him turning you back to your own resources. And so I made the decision to do what I did, and it felt right.
Could you please share us Osho's charisma in Australia, when it started and how it's flourishing today in your vision?
Yes, well, when I read that book, there were very few sannyasins in Australia. In fact, I only knew about 2 or 3, I think I knew about 3 or 4 sannyasins in Australia then. And as I've mentioned, I read the book, I went to Pune, and then people were hearing a bit about Osho, because there were people coming back to Australia and they were taking sannyas. People were starting to take sannyas by mail. They'd get their new name by mail. And then when I came back the first time, I brought 10 malas back with me, and the names and addresses of those people who had taken sannyas by mail, and I was able to give them those 10 malas. In fact, I gave Didi her mala. When I came back to Australia, I just gave it to her in the kitchen. A few people I gave the malas to, I didn't know, there was no ceremony, or I just gave them their malas, which it was a great honour to me that I had been given these 10 malas to give these to 10 people who had already taken sannyas by mail. So Osho that was in, say, 78. Osho was starting to be known by just other people, like people who had been travelling in India and had come across Osho's work. So there were a few, very few sannyasins. And gradually it grew bigger and bigger and bigger. And today there are thousands of sannyasins in Australia spread about all over the place. I'm in contact with a lot of them because I took it on. When I left Pune in 79, Osho told me to take care of his people in Australia, and I thought, yep, I could do that. And so I had I've opened a few centres and closed a few centres, but I've always managed to keep an email list together. And so now I'm in contact with Osho's people all around Australia, and I'm pleased to say there are small groups of Osho's people all around Australia who are meditating together and stay in contact with me. And I feel very honoured that I've still got this job after so many years. I've still got the job of taking care of some of Osho's people in Australia. Of course, it's not now 10 people here. There are maybe thousands of sannyasins who I don't know, but I'm very lucky that I do know some of them.
Could you please speak about your relationships with Osho International Pune?
Yes, I can. Well, as the years have gone by, things changed. It's no longer Pune 1 and Pune 2 as I know it. Things changed, and somehow I understand that when the people in the administration made these changes, they had to make them, and I wanted to maintain my connection with what was happening at the resort, but I also got a bit confused about the changes. So I went and visited some of the Indian ashrams and talked to other people just to find out what was going on. But I still maintain my connection to the resort, and I'm connected I'm on their website as a Osho information centre, and I really want to stay connected. Some of the changes that happen I don't really agree with, but it was Osho gave them the work to do, and while I don't understand some of the decisions they made, I respect Osho's decision just to give them the work to carry on.
The importance of Osho meditations among the Western society and Western mind, could you please explain?
Well, I guess it's about what I found, that because we live busy lives, we have our families, we have to go to work, we don't have a lot of support in our family life. I had to learn how to meditate without having to sit for long periods. So now I get up and I sit for a while, then I'll get on and do my work. But I've learnt this technique of bringing myself back into the moment in everything that I'm doing. And of course I'd get lost. I haven't perfected the technique, but I get enough energy to keep going because I've learnt the technique. Osho, thank you, that you actually showed me that I can turn any single thing into a meditation. The Orange Book, full of little techniques. Many books, just where he explains the most important thing is my presence, that I'm present when I'm doing any activity. And now I'm lucky enough to remember sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes I remember to be present with as much love and awareness as I can be, as I can get. Good question.
So what is its importance among the Western mind and the Western society today?
Well, I guess everybody's in the same boat as me, that we're all pressured in this society to have a house, to have a family, to have all the technology that's available, to have a car. We all live in this society and we're pressured to conform to the society, and yet there's our inner life that needs as much attention as our outer life. And so it's really important that we share what we've learned, that we've learned how to meditate in this busy society. And so that's why I keep on doing what I do. I keep on advertising in the local paper so people can ring me up about meditation. I keep on running meditation camps. I keep on doing everything I can because I realise how everybody's out there under the same pressure that I was under, and I learned how to meditate in my daily activity, and it's not only our responsibility, our love to share what we've learned.
Could you please pour your message about meditations to the new generation?
Oh, this is a hard question. Because the new generation, well, I have grandchildren and I find it really difficult to share with them. All I can do is be myself, really. And they're so busy with their lives, they don't seem to be ready to receive what I would love to give them. They're busy with their friends, with their technology. Technology has got so many of our young people just captive to their iPhones. I have to be on my grandson's case, who lives with me. I have to be on his case all the time to even turn off his iPhone while he's having dinner with us. And it's so I think that it's important to keep on reminding them to turn off their iPhones, to not have so much screen time as they have. but it's a generation that we're living in that's not giving much attention to their inner life, but all the attention is going to their outer life. And so the responsibility of ours is even greater. Just to keep on reminding them that there is more to life than all the electronics that are available.
She speaks something beautiful.
I am a living example of what it's like to be with this master, because today I've had a busy day, and now I'm going to get changed, and I'm going to go out and drive 25 k's to do a meditation. And not only do the meditation, I'm going to actually run off of the meditation, which I've already prepared. What to say? I am a living example of what it's like to be with a living master, and he is not dead, I can tell you. He is very much alive. He's alive, and when I say I have tapped in to this resource, and how do I know this? He's always talking about it, that we have not even experienced the resources that are within ourselves. I don't even know if I've got enough time now to experience the resources that are within me. Maybe. Let's see. I'm experiencing, in a way, I'm experiencing this resource that's within me.
Right.
But there's a lot more. Like he talks about us only experiencing 10% of what's in us. And that's, when you trust him. And the other day he, at the funeral, I played a discourse, and he said, I know you guys haven't experienced all this stuff, but I have. And if you trust me, I'm telling you the truth. And it was so strong the way he said it, I know you guys haven't experienced all this stuff, but if you trust me, I'm telling you the truth. It was enough for me, I thought, bloody hell, that's how I feel. Here she is. We're finished.